Welcome to Apex Esports League. I'm JT. Tonight we have the Apex Esports League Toyota 86 Championship for Project Cars 2 on the PS4. And tonight is round 4, so we are at Snetterton 200. So tonight we have two races. So first session we head off into a 15-minute practice, weather is medium cloud. Then we have 15-minute qualifying, weather is medium cloud. Then we have the sprint race, which is 15 laps, weather is medium cloud with no mandatory pit. Then we'll have a brief 10-minute break, head into session 2 where we'll have a 15-minute qualifier, weather is clear. Then we've got the main race worth the big points. There's 30 laps, weather is clear, and there is a mandatory pit. So after the third round, we had Sami take lead in the championship with 525 points, so only just marginally leading ahead of Gallon 350 and Mr. D-Train Barbado, both tied on 501 points. And Azuro is not too far behind either with 466 points. Last week we had the Oscherslaben A course. In the sprint race we saw Azuro take pole and victory. He just missed out on the fastest lap bonus points with Rooney taking that. And then in the main race we had him qualify in pole position, take victory, and then also take the bonus points for the fastest lap. So we'll jump over and check out the track layout. So of course we are in the United Kingdom for the Snetterton 200. Game session time is starting at 9 AM, so track conditions are going to be quite cool, especially with the weather of medium cloud. And then the track is 3.22 kilometers long and there is 8 turns. So in the Snetterton 200 version, it is a rather short course, very quick, a few little technical sharp corners that the drivers have to be very wary of, but otherwise it's going to be some very consistent, tight racing throughout tonight's sessions. We do have a full grid again, so 16 drivers ready to battle it out on the Snetterton 200. Hey, dirty. There's Team Vazmak. Zero already out there flying. No worries, dirty. We'll catch you again soon. Zero not taking it easy on that first lap out there, absolutely flying. And those Toyota GT86s do sound fantastic. Very slippery, very nice control. Zero will be a definite strong contender again for tonight's round. And it's only just missing out on a clean sweep last week, with Rooney taking the fastest lap bonus points in the sprint race. Rooney hasn't been able to make it tonight, so that could be an opportunity for Azura to try and get a clean sweep. He has done it plenty of times in the past. Don't forget, if you're joining us for the first time with our streams, be sure to hit that follow button. We do appreciate the growing support with Apex Esports League. And don't be shy, make yourself known in the chat, say hello. I can see the messages. And there is also some sound controls down underneath that you can use to play a variety of sound effects over the stream, so have some fun with it. A little bit of traffic getting caught up. I think that's at the first hairpin. Very good shots of some action on those technical corners. Thanks for joining us, T-Rex. Jeffrey's able to make it, so we've missed him for a couple of weeks. Jeffries is sitting back in 16th position for the Drivers' Championship with 96 points, having missed out on scoring some points during the session. I think that may be Coco Dog and Deo that was just spinning out. So it was Coco Dog that was finding the track a little bit slippery. First times coming through on the board now, so there's a 112.552 set by Azuro for the first time out. Corby, who joined us last week for round 2. In the sprint race, Corby took 2nd place after qualifying 8th, but having a brilliant drive. And then in the main race, qualified 4th and took 2nd position. It's D-Train that's just ran off wide and then narrowly comes in. I think that's some contact with spray and pray. Make our way through and familiarise ourselves with the drivers' liveries as well. Then we'll jump on board for a lap around. Now that the drivers should start feeling a little bit of grip in those tyres. It is a very cold track, especially when it's only 9 AM in the simulated session time. We have D-Train, who's currently tied 2nd in the championship. Him and Gallen tied on 501 points. Corby's just snuck through with a very quick time of 1:12.112. Fine, he's close to setting a lap or jumping on board with DK Rush. A little bit slippery coming into the last corner. A pretty decent lap that he was just finishing up as well. Very nice, fast first corner. And then this first hairpin for turn 2 catches up pretty quickly. Pretty hard to look through as well. It is a very sharp one. And you can see the variation for the Snetterton 300 that veers off to the right there. Drivers having to remember to turn left, otherwise they will be met with a tyre wall. Back straight. Getting a nice draft up behind Cliffo. He's catching up in on Cliffo pretty quickly. And these cars do love a good slipstream. Oh, and you can see that car bob down, starts to slide that rear out. This corner is very easily done so as well. Can start to get it into a spin before having to quickly turn left onto the sharp elbowed corner. Narrowly avoids Cliffo. Let's see how he goes for this lap around. Pretty sure it should be a quick time. Yes, half a second quicker. That was a very nice lap by DK Rush. Very quick lap courtesy from DK. Corby's come through with another quickest time, a 1:11.6. Zero's batted his time as well, come through for quicker 1:12. But still a ways off to be 0.7 off Corby's pace. That's pretty strong pace that Corby's set down already. Corby making familiar with the pit lane, and it's a very short pit lane entry, so drivers are going to have to be quite cautious of their speed as they pull into the pits. Otherwise they could end up suffering a grid place penalty, a time second penalty, or even potentially a disqualification. Yeah, that is right, dirty. It is. Ooh, that's Cliffo is finding a little bit of a struggle on that last corner. For those that are joining us can't see the chat, so Dirty Monkey is one of our drivers in the championship. He's unable to make it, and he's mentioning that this is the hardest track to find grip on the right hand side of the car. And it definitely is for this. The drivers do have custom setups, so we haven't forced the default setups in the game, so they can fully customize the cars and then also their tyres. But they'll probably be finding to be getting a fair bit of scrub. Ooh, nice big lift. Let's go on over to Weir. with his Vazmac teammate tailing in behind him. They are often seen in a 1-2 fashion throughout our series. They are very similar pace, so they do make a great team. I'm sure as we come into our Group A Touring Car Championship, which comes after our V8 Supercar Series when the Toyota 6s conclude, we are actually running a team championship, so it'll be interesting seeing team strategies in play as well. Philly doing pretty well with a 1:13.3, and we're in with a 1:13.2, so very consistent with each other. Brand finding a little bit of torque coming through that corner. Car's looking pretty bad. He's bringing that car in. Gallons ran off track, exceeding track limits. A little bit of lag being shown on mine. Not sure if it's showing for the stream. Personally, not being able to make all the rounds for this series. Joined us around the time of the first birthday bash for Apex eSports League. Only having made one round, he's sitting in 19th position in the championship with 52 points. He had a decent run last week, qualified 9th in the sprint race, finished 7th. And suffered a disconnect in the main race, so also missing out on some valuable points there. And it is the main race that scores the most points. They do achieve points for qualifying position as well as race position. Gal not setting some strong pace out there just yet, a little bit off our top contenders. Might be able to pull a little bit more speed once the track conditions start to warm up a little bit more. And we missed Steph last week. She's back with us again this week. Steph is currently coming tied 15th. So he's tied with Dirty Dirty Monkey with 138 points. There with Cliffo 83 and Coco Dog, and also Kakadu just marginally ahead. So, Coco Dog's had a disconnect. Can get back in. Yeah, Dirty, you can get it next round. Needing to have a very strong result tonight in preparation for heading into the final round. We'll only just have the final race. It is worth the big points. He needs to try and push as much lead on the championship tonight as he can. Corby's still the quickest out there. Azuro has shaved that time down onto Azuro. Well, that looked like Philly or Wirritz just ran off track. Azuro only 0.171 of a second off Corby's time. Philly's doing quite well with the third quickest time out there. Very quick 1:12. Only 100. Oh, very broad. Coming along pit straight, taking out the the advertising on the sides. Ooh, and I think that's Gallen that's just ran way off track. Just rather quick along the grass, brings it back in on time. B-Train heading to the pits. Therefore, there's 12.4 seconds separating the entire grid. If 6 seconds off pace to Malarkey, we can bring that time down a little bit. Otherwise, it's pretty good to have 14 cars only separated by 6.5 seconds. However, in this very short track, even over the course of the sprint race, there'll definitely be some lapping going on. Being rather narrow and very short track, there's going to be a fair bit of traffic to have to contend with for the race leaders. We did see last week a little bit of traffic slowing a couple down. There's 20 seconds remaining of practice, and we'll be heading into 15 minutes of qualifying. Still holding that quickest time. Now 70 seconds remaining to finish up last laps. We're seeing times of 1:11. It's more than enough time to wrap up a lap. Corby practicing a pit entry. I don't know if Steph just got across the line in time. Oh, a little bit of a lag spike. It looks like we may be having Coco Dog rejoin. You won't see him until the next session. Yeah, so he has rejoined. Now we have free practice results. Corby 387 setting that quickest lap with a 1:11.681. Let's have a look and see if Cliffo managed to bring that time down a little bit. He did bring it down just a tad. No, not quite. Drivers now have 15 minutes to set a qualifying lap for the sprint race in round 4. So there's 25 points up for grabs for setting pole position. Oh, and Spray and Praise just copped a grid place penalty. 2 grid places, so he was going rather quick, forgetting to set that pit limiter. Here we go, Coco Dogs just rejoined the session. A bit of traffic going on. I think they'll spray and pray off to the side. Mr. Coco Dog. They're back for the qualifying. Hopefully no more technical issues for him. Wherever he was enjoying just dragging that mirror down the side of the pit exit and taking out one of the cones. Oh, something gone there. I don't know if the brakes locked up. Might have had the wrong setup set as well. Drivers will have a qualifying setup generally set. They'll be running a much lighter load of fuel. They usually have all the fairings closed up so that the radiator openings are well and truly closed, so they can take advantage of a bit more aerodynamics. It's just at the expense of heating that engine. So to be able to get out there just to do 5 laps of qualifying, it won't cause any damage to the car. However, if drivers happen to forget to change that setup and then run that for the course of the race, they could suffer critical engine damage. You can see this is the difference in fuel swapping over to Wirral. So we're running almost double the fuel. And it's not always better to be running completely lighter, as once you start running that car lighter, you do actually start to lose a little bit of weight in the rear, which can then also start suffering a little bit of grip, especially with these cars, with how torquey these things are. They are absolute machines for revving out. Spray and Pray comes through straight up with 1:14. That's a pretty good time. And Spray and Pray is going to have to try and set a very good time. He does have that 2 grid place penalty. Spray and Pray even 0.3 second quicker off the opening time from Corby. Thanks for joining us, Recall the 80. Just a couple of little lag skips I'm seeing from a 0. Hopefully no connection issues for a 0. 0 suffered greatly. Links back with a disconnect in the main race. Only 2 laps from finishing. Losing out on some big points. Sami's come through for 1:13. A 0 still doing well for 1:11. He's pretty quick straight off the mark. That's the time we saw Corby set in the practice session. A little bit of traffic going on. Sami getting around Cliffo. D-Train's putting some pretty good pace down. He just bettered his first time out from a 1:14 down to a 1:13.8. Jeffrey's not currently there, missing out on some valuable track time for qualifying. Let's see, we haven't checked out Balaki. Not sure where he's just cut off there. The cameraman will catch up to him. Balaki struggled last week, and we did see him parked up in the sand trap just around from the last corner at Oscherslaben. So he did actually end up having a issue with running out of fuel, so not loading enough fuel into the car for the main race. And since he didn't actually leave the session, he still managed to score some points and finishing 10th. So we had a few disconnects. Philly Manili, Cliffo and Pretzelnader all suffering disconnects. I think we did have someone having some steering issues as well. 0 has come through for an even quicker time at 1:11.280. It's really putting down some pretty good pace. Oh, and he's just brought that in. Not sure if he is running low on fuel. D-Train's out there for the second quickest time. If you are new to Apex eSports League, you will notice down below the bottom of the stream we have our social media links. So we have bit.ly/Apex ESL. That is a shortened version to our YouTube channel. And there goes D-Train around Corby. He's probably out on a cold lap. So all our past broadcasts get saved onto YouTube, so you can go back through and check out any of our previous series and catch any of the past action from the GT86s. They are all there. And then also our Facebook page, so you can stay up to date with all our results, standings and incident reports as well, as all the races are stewarded afterwards. the replays being checked and penalties given out to any at-fault racing incidents. Driver incidents, I should call them. Guerra has come through with an almost 112 flat. He's going to bring that in. It's a very quick time. Our first 5 cars are all within 1 second. Lag spiking going on. Hopefully you're not going to see someone disconnect. There's 7 minutes remaining for qualifying. Bit of a slipstream down the straight here. Just using Steph to slingshot around down pit straight. Steph still carrying a fair bit of speed going down there. Look at all those cars. We're almost 3 wide into turn 1 on qualifying. If we're seeing them already racing that tight in qualifying, it's going to be spectacular. I don't know if you notice there's a bush over in the background there. I'm not sure what it's supposed to be, whether it's the rock-on hand symbol or if it's a person with their arms up. It is quite an interesting shape. And the driver's having a bit of a chuckle just even over the shape of Snetterton as well. It is a very questionable shaped racetrack. Army catching up to Spray and Pray. Spray and Pray currently qualified 11th, so if it finishes in the same positions, that'll see him drop down into 13th position. Jeffries and Blarkey will move up. Jeffries, is he got the same colours as Cliffo? Let's see if he's wearing a different number. Yes, so 129, 130. Oh, Steph was looking to get up along the inside of Cliffo. A little bit of difference in times. There's 16 seconds separating the field. Almost half the grid, or sorry, more than half the grid are only 1.5 seconds away from pole time. That is very tight. I feel we're nearly 1.6 seconds off of Zero's pace. A little bit of track cut there. Managed to keep that going pretty straight. It is very slippery out in the grass on this track. It's going to be very unforgiving once they do go for a little bit of a slip on this track. You can see Gallen off in the distance there having an issue. And playing in the paddock. Very quick in the turn 1. You can see that rear really digging in and starting to slide out. It's pushing that car quite quick. G-Train's snuck through with a 112, almost breaking into the 111 mark. Zero is going to have to be pretty confident with his 111.2 with only 3 minutes remaining. Not going to be really much opportunity to defend that with a few minutes remaining of qualifying. His first lap out's not going to count. It's going to take a little bit to get those tyres up to temp. It's very close. Look at the times between DK Rush and Sami, a 112.240 and a 112.260. That is very close indeed. So weather conditions at the moment is medium and cloud cover. Game session time started at 10 AM. Time progresses by times 2. So half an hour would have progressed by the time qualifying is complete. A slight increase in track temp. Still will be quite cool at the start of the sprint race. It'll take a couple of laps before the track starts to get rather warm. Nick doing well in 7th position. It's 1.2 seconds off pole time. Very nice line through the last corner. It's a very good pace, and he's running slightly heavier fuel load compared to the others. Not sure if that is something he goes for, as Mick does drive on a controller. Everyone else is using a steering wheel setup. Mick does very well get these things under control. This game isn't very friendly to those on a controller. Where is Mick coming in the championship? Cast miles down the list, so he's currently coming 6th. He's got 373 points. DK Rush is ahead of him in 5th position with 400 points. Philly Manili's behind Mick Cliff with 297 points. A little bit of a bubble between him and Philly. Ooh. That is a big bounce. I think that's Jeffries. Times between Coco Dog and Cliffo are pretty tight, so very similar pace. Ooh, he just clipped that curb. That's a very interesting camera angle we got there. I've not seen that before. Quite interesting. Ah, you do it on controller too, Dirty. Did not know that. Do very well to keep it under control on that. When I first got this game and didn't have a steering wheel, I wasn't too impressed after coming from Gran Turismo, being able to try and keep the car on track for a lap. So it made all the difference going over to a wheel. So kudos to the controller warriors out there. Going come through for an out of focus shot for us. It's very strange. We're getting a bit of a delayed shot there. We're making himself familiar pit entry as well. There's 30 seconds remaining of qualifying. Enough to get these guys to wrap up their lap. Oh, it's going to cost Coco. Kurtzmeier side by side coming along. The final lap of qualifying, and there we have qualifying complete for the sprint race of round 4. A 0143 taking pole position with a 111.280. Corby starting in 2nd position with a 111.990. So 0.7 off that pace. So that is very quick pace being set by a 0. And the rest of the field is pretty tight. So then we have D-Train, DK, Werasami, Mick, Gallen, Philly, Pretzelnator, Spray and Pray with a 2 grid place penalty, so jumps down into 13th position. So that sees Jeffries move up into 11th position, Steph in 12th position, and then followed by Coco Dog, Blarkey and Cliffo. So we're heading over into the race now. Drivers will have a couple of minutes to get their cars set up for the sprint race. drivers having to make sure they set enough fuel for the race. We could see what happened to Balaki last week and run out of fuel. We have 15 laps. Weather is medium cloud cover, and there's no mandatory pit required. A bit tongue-tied trying to get out mandatory. We've noticed a big difference with starts with the drivers running the traction control. And the guys that don't run the traction control get away quite quick. Colby and a zero not seeming to get away off quick last week. And bog down just a little bit, so the traction control kicking in there. The one to look out for will be D-Train and DK Rush. They've been darting up and covering a couple of positions pretty quickly at the start of the race. The same as Mick Cliff, always gets away very quickly. There's not going to be a whole lot of room to be able to duck up here, so there's not too much track before we head into turn one. Ooh, and the zero nudging forward, same as Corby. Corby gets away to a good start. The zero bogs down a little bit. D-Train quickly catching up to him. But look at Corby, he has flown ahead. He's going to have the nice inside line. Oh, there's been a big spill at the back. I think that's where has been hit pretty hard, and he's been tangled up with Gallen. And Mick Cliff may have been caught up in that as well. Philly's just gone off on the inside. Bit of carnage at pit straight. Not even a turn one issue. There's probably been a little bit of a spin at the start. And as I was mentioning, there's not a whole lot of room down pit straight to dart up. So if a car starts to slip, there's going to be chaos. And that could be what will be happening. It'll be a very interesting one to check out in the replays in the coming days. So don't forget to stay tuned to our Facebook page if you are just a viewer and not part of our group. That way you can see the incident report and see what happened at the start. Very strange stuff going on. D-Train is having DK Rush really close in on him. DK darts out almost to go for an inside line. The D-Train carried a lot of speed down into that corner. Sami is also tucking in. DK is really looking for an opportunity here. But DK looking for those opportunities seems to put a little bit of pace off. He's now got Sami streaming up along in the back straight. He's going to be in a very nice position, but he's going to be carrying a lot of speed into tight corners, so he's going to run wide there, and it's going to cost him that position back to DK. They are side by side. They're going to be coming up to a turn. DK was well ahead. Zero is still in second position. Corby really flying. Very strange camera angles. The last turn tends to play with the trackside cameras for this track a fair bit. Yeah, dirty, a fair bit of dust. Corby is really starting to put a bit of gap on a zero. Last lap around, a 1:12.109 set by Corby, a 1:12.481. If Corby can keep this pace up for another 12 laps, he's going to be definitely in it for a win. Malaki is in the pits. He's obviously taken some damage. He's also sped while going into the pits as well, so he's taken a time second penalty. DK. He's going to stare at a fence for a while, why not? So, Pretzelnator showing Polka Dot for a moment. Pretzelnator doing well. Oh, we just had Dong retire out. Not sure if that... Oh, there's been an incident with Sami and D-Train. Not sure whether they'd made contact in turn one. One of them might have just spun out in front of the other. So that's allowed DK to move up into third position. That will be a favourable position for DK. He's currently coming fifth in the championship with 400 points. Just ahead of him is Wira. And after the incident at the start, Wira has dropped down into ninth position. Philly's in the pits now as well. So, oh, Malaki is stuck. He's going to probably have to reverse out. That's going to be unfortunate. He's going to have to use the car reset. Otherwise, he might have to just retire out. The game won't let him reset unless there are no cars nearby. Philly having to move away. Oh, he's actually going to reverse out of pit lane. Hopefully it doesn't DQ him for doing that. That is quite the move. Yeah, he has done it. Well done to Philly, finding a way out. There's a bit of chaos on pit exit. Zero is really slipping behind Corby. Corby is really in the zone. Some very consistent laps. Setting a 1:12.5 last time around. D-Train just going out wide. A little bit of understeer going through the technical corners. It's going to be a battle for 8th position, where it is sitting pretty hot tight on the tail of Gallen. He's 0.8 of a second quicker last time around. Bit of damage. I'm not showing it on the screen, but I am seeing a broken windscreen in my director's screen. To catch up to Gallen. A little bit of congestion for traffic as Gallen catches up to Jeffries. It's going to be an opportunity for Wira to close that gap a little bit more. No, Gallen does get away. It did look like Wira was a little bit slippery coming through the corner. Oh, that curve's going to be a big issue for Jeffries. There is a big jump. Going to be a fair bit of damage to that car from hitting that curb. We'll take the front bar off, going nose first into it. Cliff now closing in on Jeffries after having that spill. Just play with my cameras as But, and you can see Balaki's still stuck in pits. Looking to find an opening to get around Jeffries. It's likely Jeffries isn't going to be as quick down the straights now. Oh, and he's just had a spin again. Would have lost a fair bit of grip after taking that front aero damage. Yeah, that's right, dude. I can't believe he got away with that. He's just completely stuck. He's trying to get it out. We're going to have to retire that out. Hopefully no one's going to go into the pits. I'm pretty sure that it would have probably DQ'd him. It's probably lucky it's a very short pit straight, with the pit lane being that short. He probably had enough in the warning countdown telling him he's going the wrong way before it was going to penalise him. And Steph making way for some fast traffic. Going off track to do so. Trying to catch back up to Wirra. On lap 8 of 15, we're halfway through the sprint race. Colby is now pushing the race lead out to 2.5 seconds and even growing that gap more. Zero getting caught up in a little bit of traffic. I think that's Jeffries. Is that Cliffo? Can't see. And that costs a whole second getting caught up behind two back markers. That was what I was mentioning during the practice and qualifying with this short track. There's going to be a fair bit of traffic going on. Oh, that's DK Rush. I think that's just made a mistake. Cost him a bit of time, but he has a large gap between him and 4th position. He's got about 9 seconds between him and Sami. Sami doing pretty well. His main competition is Gallon and D-Train. He's only leading ahead of them by 24 points for the championship. Finishing 4th position will be a good result for him. For the sprint race is 44 points. 60 points up for grabs for a victory. Colby being a late entry into the series. Taking a win isn't going to affect the lead for the championship for Sami. Colby doing well though with being a late entry, coming through 192 points in the championship, straight into 11th position. We have Steph looking to take on Cliffo for 10th position. She's closing in that gap a fair bit. Oh, they both run off. The aero wash coming into the last corner. Steph manages to get back through. Pretty sure that's Wirra that's just gone past. No, it might have been Philly. Yes, that was Philly. Philly, a couple of laps down after being caught up behind Balaki, not able to get out of pit. He is very lucky to have been able to pull off that move by reversing all the way out. definitely wouldn't be able to be done on any other track, I'm sure. A bit of front left lockup coming into turn 1 by Pretzelnator. The front left will be taking a fair bit of a bashing around this track. I'd be surprised if the drivers opt for swapping out one of the tyres for a hard compound and running softs for the rest. I have actually selected D-Train. It's D-Train in 5th position. He's got about 11 seconds between him and 4th. It's going to be tough for him to try and catch up any ground unless something goes wrong up ahead. 5th will be a good position. And Wera has recovered beautifully after being seen dropping right down to the end when he was turned around at the grid start. But to recover into 6th position and only 37.5 seconds behind the race leader is a very good job. Balaki still stuck in the pits. Giving up trying to get that out. Snetterton was starting to close in on Wera. All sorts of crazy once we get to the last corner, so I'm trying to... Pretzelnator jumps over to Philly. Always does it on Snetterton. Corby now pushed that lead out to 5 seconds, that's huge. He hasn't even really had to fight for this race lead. Got away early at the lights, taking the lead from the 0 straight up, and then he's just put it down from there. We might bring up the timings to see who has the fastest lap. The best lap looks like it's a 1:12.109. That is by Corby. I don't know if you get to see the entire screen. Spalaki's got a 10-second time penalty. Corby, quickest car out there. We have had someone retire and I can't work it out. It might be, actually, I think it's Coco Dog that's retired out. Coming up to the last laps now. We're on lap 14. Oh, Spray and Pray spins out ahead of Corby. That would have been a bit of a scary moment for Corby that could have potentially ended his race. We'll have to jump on board for a victory lap with Corby. Last lap, he just needs to play it cautious. 5.5 seconds ahead of the 0 in 2nd position. Very nice lines by Corby. He's just got enough fuel to wrap up this lap as well. Steph just up ahead, making a move on Cliffo. They've been battling it out for a little while. Corby through. bumper is flapping about. Steph. Oh no, contact for Corby. He's got enough time to get across the line. He's going to have to open this. Zero's nowhere near. It's not going to be enough time to get around. That would have been disastrous. But manages to cross the line just in time, so it loses 4.5 seconds at the finish from contact. But well done, Corby still manages to pull it off, and then Zero in second, DK in third. Well on to our podium finishers. Sami in fourth. D-Train bringing it up in fifth position. And Wera recovered into sixth position. A fantastic result for Wera. And the cameraman wants to actually look at him. All done, Wera, and then followed by Pretzel Nader and Mick Cliff, all closely in 6th, 7th and 8th. Gallen coming up in 9th position. He's crossed the line. Yep, it's Cliffo. Pretty sure has crossed as well. And Steph. Jeffries has as well. It's just waiting for Philly. He's just having some fun out in the grass. He's got 20 seconds to do some donuts. The D-Train looking pretty good for moving himself up in the championship. With Gallen having a weaker finish in the race. Just had a couple of dropouts, something going on, a bit of lag with the session. And Colby 387 claiming victory in the sprint race, and then also taking the fastest lap with a 1:12.109. And then we have on the podium also is a Zero in second and DK in third, then followed by Sami, D-Train, Wera, Pretzelnator, Mick Cliff, Gallen, Cliffo, Steph, Spray and Pray, Jeffries, Philly, Balaki, and Coco Dog, who retired out. I'm not sure what happened to Coco Dog early on, but we're going to be having about 9-10 minute break as the drivers rest up for heading into the second session, where we'll have 30 laps after the 15-minute qualifying. So stay tuned. There's going to be plenty of action over the course of 30 laps around Snetterton 200. So we'll be back soon. And we are back for session 2. We're heading over into 15 minutes of qualifying. Game session time is now 1 PM. Weather conditions are now clear, so that means there will be some better track temperatures. It won't be as slippery out on the Snetterton 200. Drivers scrambling out in the track pretty quickly. Zero first out onto the track. Usually pretty good for getting out there as one of the first cars, putting down a pretty good solid lap pretty early on, and then has a break for the remainder of the qualifying session. So some hairy stuff going on at the end with Steph and Corby. Nearly losing victory at the end. They're making contact right on the last stretch. And apparently the incident going on at the start. Cars got to about 4 wide at the start, and then almost made it 5, and that's when things went wrong. There's not much room down pit straight, as I was mentioning at the start. There wasn't much room to go for an attack from the lights.
God! No! God, please, no! 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 No!
If you are new to joining us, don't forget to hit that follow button as well. Cliffo going out wide there. Skellen looks to make his way around him. Colby had a brilliant drive for the sprint race. Oh, that was a little bit high. I don't know if he's taken damage. Yes, he's going to want to bring that car straight in. Oh, he's just probably taken damage there now. Might be lucky. First time on the board out there is Mick. The lap's not going to count for Corby. He's going to have to do probably another 2 laps. It's probably invalidated the next one as well. It's not showing on my race feed just yet. Steph was having a great battle on the last lap with Corby and a 0 looking to get past in the last sector of the lap. Over, and here goes a 0 straight up with a 112.4 off the mark. That is blistering quick. DK also in the 112s. Zero running a bit of a heavier load of fuel. That's quite interesting. Drivers probably worked out after the first qualifying session that having that little bit of extra fuel in their car probably puts the car down a little bit more. Stops it from wanting to slip out in the rear. Gallon comes through for 112 as well. Very quick pace. A little bit off the mark in session 1 tonight. Can he have a bit of a recovery in session 2? It's where the points will count. Needs to try and claw back some ground for the championship. It's him and D-Train tied for second with 501 points. Sami leading the championship with 525. Oh, that's Balaki that's just gone off. He's probably made some heavy wall contact. That's not who I was looking for. D-Train also come through with almost in the 112s. 113.029. Corby almost with a 112 flat. Azuro's come through for 111.9. Jeffries has had his lap time invalidated. Gone off for a big spill. Corby may even be pretty content with qualifying from position 2. He can get another really good start at the lights. He's going to be in a pretty good position. As with turn 1, you can always really using these curbs. Saw him on his opening lap take a bit too much curb as well. So he's really trying to use every bit of track he can to try and cut that time down. His race pace was 112.1. Basically setting qualifying times in the race that is very quick. Jeffries going for a spill in the same spot we saw Corby on lap 1. Oh, really nudging that curve pretty well. Look at that slide by DK as he comes through. Just brings it in. And Whereas bumped up into 4th position. So that's seen D-Train and Gallen drop down. Just exceeded track limits as well. On the last corner. This lap's really not going to count. That's on 18. If Nick's just run off again, or if that is just saying passing this lap isn't going to count. Usually if you exceed track limits in the last few corners, will invalidate the upcoming lap as well, just in case you are taking advantage of any runoffs where you can try and get a little bit of extra speed on approach onto pit straight. Which for most tracks there's not really many opportunities to actually do that, so it is actually quite frustrating usually going off like here. You're not going to have any speed advantage coming into the start of your lap. Unless you do cut that full corner like we saw Gallen off playing in the paddock and then ran adjacent to pit lane. With a 117.6. Are looking pretty tight. First 13 cars is just under 6 seconds separating. There's a fair few scrapes on that car. Oh, and drops a couple of tyres off track. Could have put him into a spin. Lucky needing to get a time on the board. So Philly's just had his lap invalidated as well. There's a yellow flag up. That's on pit straight. Bit of traffic coming out of the pits. Oh, it's almost a touch. Gallen just tucks in. I think that was Philly. No, it was Vera. he just turned around. Gallen just touched him. There's 5.5 minutes of qualifying remaining. Zero is still setting pole time with a 1:11.7. That was his last lap, so he keeps improving that time. Very nice line, being very cautious of that rear slip. Otherwise it just turns it into a fishtail into the last corner. Seven seconds off his fastest lap. Slower lap out there. Corby's only 0.303 off. That is very tight. There's not much difference between Corby and DK. Bit of action going on. Is that Wirra? Yeah, I think that was Wirra. I don't think he's made contact with the wall. Gets down just ahead. What is that? Is that Coco? That's not Coco's car. Pretzel. A fair bit of pace. I think there was a little bit of pressure on Wirra on approach into the last corner there. Zero not looking to park the car up. That's a good, very fast line by Zero. Not his best time. Saw a red time quickly flash up as he crossed into that sector. Oh, Corby, he's misjudged that. Almost was going to turn it into an impressive drift around. DK misjudging that corner as well. A little bit of excess speed coming on the approach. Setting a 1:11.6. I think that's going to be pretty hard to try and beat. Oh, that's cost. He's going to turn around. Oh, narrowly avoids Steph. D-Train did touch the tail of Steph, trying to avoid them. Steph getting on those anchors pretty quickly. Steph misjudged that corner. Jump on board for a lap with D-Train. Carrying a very light load of fuel. A bit too early into turn one, so he's going to carry a very nice line. Carry that speed. This car is going to be feeling very flighty. Only 5 litres of fuel. This is the corner where we've seen that rear really slide out. Watch it, that tail slip out on them. A little bit flighty as he gets around on the corner exit. improving this time. It's not going to be enough to move up just yet unless he can shave a fair bit off in Sector 3. There's a lot of time to be gained in the last corner here. Oh, very nice line. He's going to be carrying a good amount of speed. It's going to be a brilliant lap. There's 10 seconds remaining. Will be enough time for him to get another lap in. Oh, he's just off pace. Zero and Corby have brought those cars in. That's them done for qualifying. DK has an opportunity to steal pole away. Definitely, he's just marginally off his best. Doesn't need to save much. 100th of a second will see him steal second position away from Corby. There's no allowance for a mistake to happen on this lap. Been keeping pretty consistent pace. D-Train just ahead of him, making a mistake there. Oh, that's a very good amount of speed carrying on to that last corner. Will he improve that time? I think it's a potential improvement. And we have qualifying complete for the final race of round 4 of 01:43. Again, starts from pole, and also Corby starting from the second position. So very tight times between our top drivers, where we have 1 second separating the first 7 cars. That is very close. So a Zero starts from pole, followed by Corby, DK, Sami, D-Train, Wirra, Gallon, Mick, Pretzelnator, Phillies, Spray and Pray, Coco Dog, Jeffries, Steph, Cliffo, and Balaki. They're heading off into their race ready screen now. Pretty close repeat to race 1 tonight. We had D-Train and DK starting from 3rd and 4th. Just a couple of minutes just to get those setups ready, and also to make sure they have their pit strategy set. Get a shot at the start from here. Hopefully no chaos along the start this time around. And C to have 4 cars wide. They would be rubbing well and truly along the straight. There's definitely no room for a pass once they're 4 wide off the lights. Hopefully a good clean first lap. Eager to see if Corby can get another flying start. Over the course of 30 laps, there's going to be a fair bit of traffic going on. So, risky stuff going on for Corby at the end of race 1. So there's going to be a lot more to contend with over the course of 30 laps. Ready to go. Lights go green. Corby's nudging forward. A very good start again. He's a good straight quick start. Oh, D-Train sneaks up in between Sami and DK. A Zero moves over to block Corby, but then Corby ducks over to the middle lane. D-Train up along very tight with DK. There was no room there, but DK rushed, dropped back in. So Zero playing very defensive at the start. I think he knows after seeing the performance from Corby in race 1, if he didn't defend that line now, there probably wasn't going to be too much of an opportunity to get around. Side by side, Presonator and Gallon. Long back straight. He's going to have a good slip here, but he's going to get caught in behind Mick Cliff. There goes Azuri, Corby, D-Train and DK. Zero not being able to get away yet. He's going to have to keep playing defensive. Pretty cool here. D-Train for president. Corby is going to probably get Azuro here. Azuro is probably going to have to go for a move. He's not going to be able to defend it now. Corby's going to beat him to the line. He's going to own track position. And then Azuro carried a lot more speed, so he got ready to play on the offensive to get him on the next corner. That was a brilliant move, and then way too much speed. That's just cost him a position, maybe 2. D-Train's going to be now catching up to Azuro. Look at these 3. Oh, D-Train's going to go for a move. He goes for an early slip around. Look at that speed that he's carrying. That is blisteringly quick. 230 before getting on the brakes. He's even going to have a crack at Corby as well. Oh no, he's going to carry too much speed. Almost run off. That's cost him some time, so Zero's going to get up along inside. They are rubbing elbows. D-Train, oh, big bounce. Didn't look like it would be a penalised incident. It was just a bit of rubbing going on, which then D-Train ran wide on. One just to check out in the coming days to see if there was a penalisable incident going on. Well, that was some pretty tight racing. With DK Rush is going to have a crack at Azuro as well. Azuro's going to have to try and close in on Corby. Corby really pulled away in race 1. He's probably going to do so again now that he's out in front. We have Philly looking to get around Wirra. They're on the back straight. It's the same move that we saw before with D-Train. By the time they actually start to get enough speed from the slipstream, that corner is quickly approaching, and then they're on approach on a very tighter trajectory into the corner, so then they're going to have to be on the brakes a lot earlier. Oh, Philly goes off. Oh, he's going to come back in and nearly make contact with Pretzel. That was pretty close. Brilliant action for only 4 laps in. We're in for a good show over the course of 30 laps. When they're already racing this fierce, they are going to be well and truly fatigued at the end of 30 laps. And when it's going to be key for managing their pit stop as well with the mandatory required pit. There's going to be anything happen. We saw last week drivers racing in the pits. It was all down to just how quick they were going to be in and out. And it was last lap going into the pits. It's going to be whoever got that release before the other car. Okay, he's starting to slip away from Azuro. So Azuro about to try and focus on catching up to Corby. Carrying a good amount of speed down straight. He had a much better run on than what DK did. going to be right on his tail by the end of the back straight. Oh no, that's just cost him some time. Did a bit of oversteer coming through the corner. So going to be Gallen catching up to Wira pretty soon. Billy's trying to catch in on Pretzelnator. Now Steph closing in on... Oh no, big lock-up. Not sure what was going on there. Spray and Pray's just gone off. Balaki just gets through before Spray and Pray re-entered the track. Lifo just gets around Steph. Oh, D-Train ran off in the last corner. In trouble on turn 8. And then Wira almost followed suit as well. Does tend to happen when drivers start really focusing in on the opponent up ahead. Especially once that gap starts to close in. You really want to hope that that car you are following is hitting their marks. Otherwise you'll probably tend to follow off on the same section of track. Pretty good for D-Train after having a pretty good result in race 1. If he can have a good result for race 2 and then finishes a good amount. Ooh, that's DK clipping that curb. He's got it up on the 2 wheels. That's going to cost him some time. It's going to allow D-Train and Wira to catch up to him very quickly along pit straight. D-Train gets a good finish in race 2 tonight, well ahead of Sami. I think there will be a change in lead for the championship. We could potentially be seeing D-Train take the lead after tonight, heading into the final round. However, it will be very, very tight gap, so it will be a deciding round next week for sure. Gallen trying to close that gap in on Pretzel. He did dart up along the inside. He wasn't going to be in a good position. Oh, this is going to help him here though. Pretzel's just ran off wide. Oh, and D-Train had as well. D-Train has dropped down into 7th position, so he's now side by side with Pretzel, dropped another spot. Here's our championship leader getting up along inside of him. Oh, and then Pretzel's just gone for a spin in front of them. Oh, he's clipped D-Train. D-Train has been spun. I don't know if there's any damage that he's taken. Oh, he's heading the pits. There must be some damage. He's going to use this opportunity to serve his mandatory. So the only thing is he's going to have 23 laps to try and deal with. That's a lot of driving. Where are we racing? Snetterton directs. Or is that for the final? So it's Bruno GP for the final. A big fast track for them to do the final race. Will be very interesting at Bruno. Has a very strong lead at the moment, 9 laps in, betting 3.6 and climbing. Well, there's a little bit of a gap going on to see how they're going for fastest lap. Zero's the quickest out there, setting a 1:12.120. That was the time we saw Corby set in race 1. And they're running double the amount of fuel. So to be already setting down a time that quick, that is some very fast driving. Zero is a very quick driver. I think DK may even be starting to catch up on a Zero. His last lap, Zero set at 1:13.6, where DK set at 1:13.2. So he's got about 2.5 seconds to catch up to a Zero when he's putting down 0.7 of a second a lap. Let's see how he goes. Yeah, they're about on par at the moment, so he's setting a very good pace. DK could be having a crack at a Zero in the next 5 laps. Get some statistics. So DK's average qualifying position has been 7th. Same with his race position as well, so averaging 67 points per race. Pretzelnader, M, Polarki, once we know where they are on track, both wearing some time second penalties. 10 seconds by Pretzelnader, 1 second by Polarki. The 10 seconds would have been from speeding in pit lane. You did just see him and D-Train head off into the pits. Gallen starting to close in on Philly. Gallen has had a lot of speed coming down that straight. Carry that through. He's closed that gap in on Philly very quickly. There goes Sami as well. Jeffries that they're just getting around. So Jeffries showing the blue flag. Moves out of the way for the race traffic. Those rev limiters. Feeling a bit of pressure. Clearly seeing Gallen in his mirrors. It's hard to try and stay focused once you start seeing some opponents in your mirrors. Ooh, runs off wide, Gallen follows suit. Going to open up a good opportunity for Sami. Gallen dropped off a couple of seconds behind Philly in the end. He did lose a fair bit of speed from that runoff. Philly fared a lot better than Gallen did. Starting to separate just a little bit now. Pretzel looking at trying to recover some ground. He's also been in for his mandatory pit. Just catching up to Coco Dog. Second time penalty, potentially going to see him lose a position. Oh, he's just narrowly missed the tail of Coco Dog. Just swerved out around him in time, almost making contact. Like he's just moved out of the way for Corby. Corby pushing the lead out to 3.7 seconds, 3.8 now. lag. We usually see a bit of lag skip going on with Corby. Looks like Coco Dog's wanting to have another go at getting that position back. It's a terrible spot to change camera. Philly's just spun out. Sami and Gallen have moved up position. Gallen's now in 5th, Sami's in 6th. Ooh, cuts that corner. He's almost a second quicker than Gallen. Going to be moving up. It's going to be very advantageous to him now that D-Train was caught up in that spill earlier on. So he's going to be able to push out that lead. Oh, Phil is just gone for a slide. Just cleans up just in time before Balaki went around. Front bar flapping, it's taken some damage. Gallen is going to have to start looking for a defensive line against Sami. Drivers swerving. You're looking to try and brake slip. Yeah, dirtier now. This is pod racing for sure. That was spray and pray going off wide. Might have actually been Wirra that we saw weaving. D-Train has recovered up into 7th position. Now that he has actually served that pit, if nothing else goes wrong for him, that little instance probably not going to cost him too much. He's got enough fuel. He's going to be running a very nice lean car towards the end. He's going to be able to pump out some pretty good lap times. If that rubber's going to last out for the remaining 15 laps. He's only 45 seconds off from the race leader. The D-Train is not out yet. He's going to easily be able to move up towards the top view. They're saying it's probably going to be about 30 seconds to do a quick stop and go in the pits. It's Sami and Gallen. Sami goes for an outside pass. Gallen's not giving in that easy. He's going to have to give that line up though. He's not going to make the corner otherwise. He yields and gives that line to Sami. Oh, but he's definitely put the pressure on Sami for the follow through on the next corner. Sami has been really quick in these things. He's done very well this series. He's usually had a fair bit of bad luck getting a hit. He's always seemed to be in the wrong spot at the wrong time. Being caught up in incidents not at his fault. Zero started. Well, Sami's had a time second penalty, so it's not abiding by a slowdown. Zero's brought that gap in a bit, so I think that may have been from them getting around traffic. It's a pretty sure it was Philly that they had passed. So now lapping 9th position. Ooh, fair bit of traffic going on here. Cars moving every which way for the blue flag. Coco Dog and Pretzel both moving off. No, that's Pretzel just up ahead. I mean, Cliffo or Jeffries, I think it was. Cliffo. Oh, it's a nudge. Coco Dog gave Cliffo a nudge. And that is with blue flag as well. Traffic catching them up. Yes, so 1 second has been given to Sami for post-race time penalty. Go to our race leader, Corby. Very quick at the moment. Ooh, Steph clips that curb. Corby probably having flashbacks of race 1. Seeing Steph clip the curb just ahead of him. So, well, that's not D-Train. Now trying to look for Corby. We've had someone retire out. I think Balaki, yes, Balaki's retired. Corby still quickest out there at the moment. 1:13.041 just being set. 0 at 1:13.1. Gallen closing in on Sami down pit straight. Sami must have had a very good run on from the last corner. Try and shave off a fair bit of speed by the looks of it. That's allowed Gallen to close that gap in a little bit more. D-Train still sitting around that 49-second mark. Was 45 seconds behind the race lead. He definitely is closing in that gap on Gallen. These times that Corby's currently setting, that gap from the race leader is being pushed out. It's a nice crackle as he hits that rev limiter, downshifting into corner 1. Sorry, corner 2 I should say. For some battles. That's Spray and Pay in the pits at the moment. Still has his sights set on Sami. These guys will need to start considering when they're going to be pitting. They're going to have to start looking ahead, just seeing what sort of traffic they're going to be coming up to. Seems to be that whenever we switch to a car, it's always coming on to pit straight and we lose them for a moment. Preston and Coco Dog are battling it out for position 10. The gap was much closer. Preston has pushed that lead out a little bit more over him. Starting to put more of a gap on Gallen. He's coming into that turn 1 very quick. Now we've got 9 laps to go, T-Rex. It's lap 21 of 30 now. Last week we saw Corbin Azuro. I can't remember who he was battling it out for last week. I think it was D-Train. That's right, yeah. Corbin and D-Train racing in the pits. It was very tight all in the last lap. Zero went in, followed by Corby and D-Train. With only a second between them. It's very tight indeed. It'll be interesting to see what they do now. We're heading into the pits now. Getting along the inside. Oh, he's going to box in Philly. Says the blue flag for showing for Steph. It's probably going to put some stress on the Steph to try and move over. Pretzel was using it as almost a very good opportunity to box Philly in. Been a very good tactical move. He does get ahead of him anyway. Allen still a couple of seconds away from Sam. He hasn't been able to close that gap in. They're very consistent lap times at 1:13.5 for Sami and 1:13.7 for Gallen. As Jeffrey's just heading into the pits now. Well, lap 23.7 to go. Now has 6.5 seconds over Azuro. It's a very strong lead. That's what we saw him setting by the end of the 15 laps in race 1 tonight. And then that gap was quickly lost, getting caught up into some back markers. It took him a little bit longer to try and get that sort of lead over Azuro this time around. It took 23 laps compared to the 15. Picker Dogs in the pits as well. Allen's starting to close that gap in. They've just gotten around Spray and Pray. Traffic. That's Coco Dog just coming out of the pits. Stayed off track to allow these guys through. That was a very tight. Could have potentially been an incident there. Philly's looking to get around Pretzelnator. Bit of lag going on, almost looking like Philly is about to run off track on my screen. And seeing him blip. He suffered a disconnect last week. In the main race, Philly disconnected. And that he's gonna. Oh, he's not. Oh, he's just touched him. It would have been from a bit of lag. So racing that close when there is lag spikes showing. So he suddenly reacted the contact. The car ahead of him didn't even react to contact. That's what drivers do have to be wary of. So we do encourage our drivers to have multiplayer names set to on, as it will actually show the pings of other drivers when you are starting to race very close, even only a few milliseconds actually mean that you could be potentially on each other when you're only 0.1 of a second difference. Unfortunately for us Aussies, we do suffer a fair bit of ping lag. But it is good once, since we do all race from the same country, it's not as bad racing with each other as we're all experiencing about the same delays. It's only once we start getting into lobbies with foreign drivers that the lag difference starts to suffer quite significantly. Sami and Gal in the pits, look at that, a very quick stop. A very quick release for Sami as well. Racing in pits here. That was a very quick go. That's 15 seconds on the end of that lap, and I assume probably about another 10 to 15 on the out lap. Just see what their times are for this lap around. I'll be able to see just how, if D-Train's going to be able to recover some ground. Just came out about 7 seconds ahead. Whoa, some traffic going on there. I think that's Wirra that's just moved out of the way, or is it Philly? That was Philly. Moving right off track, allowing Corby to go through. The front bar is flapping about after making contact with Pretzel. Gallen's a couple of seconds behind on Sami. He's ahead of Wirra. I can't remember if I've seen Wirra pit in yet. Yeah, he did actually pit about halfway through. Sami will be looking at wanting to get around. He needs as many points as possible to try and further that lead. D-Train's only a couple of positions behind him. Same with Gallen as well. Guys, it's going to be almost a three-way tie potentially coming into the championship final. Corby hasn't pitted yet, Tourette's. And the Zero's yet to pit. I think DK needs to pit as well. He's probably going to be peeling into the pits now. He's got 8 seconds over a zero. Philly showing a little bit of lag going on in the background there. Hopefully his connection can at least last out for the remaining 2 laps. See him head off into the pits now. No, he stays out for another lap. Gonna do it on the last lap. The Zero also opting to stay out one more lap. Plenty of fuel. To be a quick stop, though it won't be a tyre change. There is no requirement for our drivers to actually have a change. They just have to go in and serve the pit. The DK's in the pits now. No, he's done and dusted. Out he goes. Closing that gap in on Corby a little bit. Coming up, have to serve their pit now. Army is looking to get around Wirra. Then Corby peel off into the pits now. Zero will now be heading in the pit lane in a moment. In he goes. Sami moves up into 4th position. Gets around Wirra. I'll spray and pray along the inside. Oh, Sami carried too much speed coming in. He's lost that position. Down go 2 spots. He turned around in time. Clips up on that curb. There goes Coco Dog. Cuts that corner trying to avoid contact. Sami would be shaking his head. That is very unfortunate to be done on the last lap. So, losing position to one of his challengers for the championship. D-Train's a couple of seconds off him. He could potentially close that in the last lap, especially if another mistakes made by Sami. It's the final lap. Prior to the pits, there was about 7 to 8 seconds difference between Corby and a zero. So he's now pushed that out within 1 lap by another 2 seconds almost. So the pit stop being 2 seconds slower for Missouri. And here we have Corby crosses the line. Double victory for round 4. Well done, Corby. Missouri is slowed up to about 11 seconds behind Corby now. Crossing the line in 2nd. DK in 3rd when we want to get to actually see him. 3rd for DK on the podium. Well done. We're in 4th position. Congrats to Wirra. To be looking at Sami, but we got D-Train. Sami in 5th position. Allen crosses in 6th, followed by 7th with D-Train. It's Coco Dog along the inside there. And Cliff, got 20 seconds to finish this lap. It's got about 20 seconds behind him. Oh, Balaki left the session beforehand, so he'll be missing out on some points. So Corby, a double win. Congratulations, Corby. Does he also get the fastest lap? No, it is a 0 with a 1:12.1, and I'm pretty sure, I think it may have even been the exact same time that Corby put down in race 1. So that's some pretty phenomenal driving by these two guys. So congrats to Corby in position 1. A 0 in 2. 3rd is DK, followed by Wirra, Sami, Gallen, D-Train, Mick, Philly, Pretzelnator, Coco, Steph, Jeffries, Spray and Pray, and Cliffo in 15th. So that was a pretty spectacular race, or both races actually should I say, for these guys at Snetterton 200. So that does conclude round 4. So we head into the final round with 240 points up for grabs for a victory. So it's going to be a very tight championship at the end. It will be a decider with having Gallen and D-Train finishing pretty well around Sami, so they'll be very tight, so be sure to stay tuned with our Facebook page to stay up to date with the results and standings. And of course, for the final round, it is the Bruno GP. It is a longer track compared to the rest of the tracks that we've picked out for the series, so the finale being on a very fast big track with ample room to pass, so it's going to be some very fast action. So be sure to stay tuned. If you haven't done so yet, hit that follow button and be sure to check out our other social media links. And thanks for tuning in, and we hope to see you trackside next week.